There's a lesson to be learned. We're handing it out. This game is our game. This town is our town. Turn the heat up and listen to the crowd.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Nagy. I'm here with my co-host Liam McNeil. Liam, how are you tonight?
Reflective, Nagy. I'm feeling reflective. I'm neither good nor bad. I'm in some sort of state of flux in between.
Yeah. Well, obviously we had the game on Sunday.
The what?
The game.
Oh, yes. Hence the state of flux.
And we went down. We went down 38-8 to the Roosters down there at Allianz. I always want to call it A and Z. It's the two A's with the... but I get the two names confused.
They both start with an A and with a Z. What happens in the middle is anyone's guess, really.
Yeah.
I don't see the point.
Yeah, but obviously we went down there. We had our first Joust excursion, the Joust on tour.
Which shan't be happening again because clearly we are the common denominator in all the Joust losses this year.
Well, 100% of the losses this year has resulted, it's because we were there watching them in Sydney. So I think we got to cut all those factors out.
Can it?
Yeah, and it's just not worth it. But Liam, I have to ask you now because it's the first loss of the season. We thought maybe this was coming a bit earlier, but it is coming round 3. What went right for you in that game?
Very little. Very, very little. Yeah, I can't really think of too much, actually.
Okay, well, what went wrong for you? We'll kick off with the wrongs first.
Now, what went wrong for me is something that has become a bit of a buzzword around the NRL this season. Like last season, the buzzword was post-contact meters. This season, the buzzword is effort areas. Now, Brownie mentioned it in the press conference. Trent Barrett mentioned it on NRL 360 the other night. Michael Ennis mentioned it on the Big League Wrap. Effort areas have become basically the buzzword for this season. And where we went wrong were those effort areas. You know, the Roosters, they were quicker to get to the drop ball. They were quicker to get to the bouncing ball. They were quicker to take kind of these opportunities that extra little effort will result in securing possession or scoring a try. And we just didn't have that. Whereas the Roosters seemed like they were desperate to have the ball. They were desperate to succeed. I feel like it was a desperate win, but not desperate because they need it. It was just they really want to win. That's a team who wants to win, and those little effort areas we really kind of let ourselves down, and that's what let them into the game. A lot of the tries, especially the Warrior Hargraves one, it was bouncing ball on the ground. He just got down and got to it. And we had two players around who didn't get down and get to it. And I think the biggest thing for me was those little effort areas, which someone tell me what that word means.
Yeah, well, I know what you mean, Liam, because for me it was, I heard a lot of people talk about after the game that the Roosters scored a lot of lucky tries. A lot of luck was involved. But I have to say that it wasn't just luck, it was confidence, and they put themselves, and in those effort areas, in those little clinch moments, they put themselves in the right position to score those points. And the Knights, in the key moments, didn't do that. They did the exact opposite. If anything, they took those chances away by squandering them on last passes or second last passes in the play. There wasn't a lot that went right as far as for me, but what went right, I'd have to say, was towards the end of the game. Obviously, they were winning by 30 points. It went raining, it absolutely bucketed down. Then it stopped, and then it was just that greasy sort of game. And I know, Liam, remember when you used to play games in the rain, football related, not just outside, in front of your parents' porch,
sliding a boogie board down the drains in Sawtell. That was great fun. That was really good.
Sawtell sounds like some sort of ghetto every time you mention it.
Well, we didn't use a boogie board. We actually used to use a cardboard sign that we stole.
Yeah, wouldn't they get wet in the?
Well, no, it was that really thick advertising cardboard.
Oh,
that's
the waxy?
made to be the waxy stuff.
Yeah.
It was a streets sign actually specifically. I believe it was for a drumstick.
Yeah, okay. Street's the ice cream. I thought you meant like a street sign.
No, that would be far too small.
That'd be too small and thin. But I digress. It was when you get those greasy games after the rain has stopped. It's like that steamy sort of. You start to heat up again, and you're just wet, and it's just awful. But it's very lethargic. It's very it can zap you the same way that when it's coming down with rain, it's a bit of wind. It can give you a bit of energy, but after it stops, and it's just no.
You feel so much more heavy when you're weighed down with the water, and it's harder to run, so you're putting more work in. But for me, what went right to follow on from that, Nagy, I've discovered something. We were comprehensively beaten by a far better team, but at no point did it look like the boys gave up. Yeah, well, there was no giving up.
This is where I was going with it. In that last sort of 10 minutes, and then we got Moga binned, and then with I think it was 7 minutes to go, and that could have been 2 more tries from the Roosters. And that there's in my mind after following a team that has copped some floggings very recently. There's a real big difference in my mind between a 30-point flogging and a 50-point flogging. And
20 points difference specifically.
yeah, exactly. And like, you know, some players, you know, some teams will just, you know, will accept them as just a beating. But I think there was a few moments in there that the Roosters really could have put the foot in the throat, and the Knights could have crumbled away. And like we saw that, was it last year, 2 years ago, against the Sharks, like when they were in 64 points. Just they couldn't be stopped, but there was still a bit of starch in the defence, still a bit on the line stuff. The Roosters had a lot of ball in that last 10, but you know I just thought there was, you know, it was a nice effort at the end, but too little, too late. But it was still nice to see.
And the opening 20, 25, I do think we showed that we can attack these these top tier teams, because let's be honest, the Roosters are easily one of the premiership contenders, if not the premiership contender.
Yeah,
and you know for 20 minutes. We're level pegging.
Yeah, look, it looked all right there. We you know, once we got that Guerra try, it looked like we could have been onto something. But obviously, what really, like, when we fell to pieces, you know, we poked our head through the line a couple of times. Once with Ponga, and the last pass to beat the fullback with Lockie Fitz on the inside, just going straight past his head. Hard pass to get, but, you know, it was a last play option. That finds hands. Suddenly, you know, we're back. You know, I think we're back level score-wise, maybe 2 points away. And then, obviously, Moga and Ross just didn't gel at all. 2 passes, you know, just obviously Ross wasn't even there. So do you blame Ross for not being there down his wing, even though the line was quite tight, and he might have been tackled over the sideline anyway? Maybe saw the fullback and, you know, decided not to go back on the inside, or do you blame Moga for passing not once but twice without looking? Where's the fault lie there?
Well, I think the fault lies with both. You know, Moga should be either passing looking first of all, or he should be adapting. So he throws that first one and then says to Rossi, all right, you're hanging back a bit more. I shan't do that again. But he didn't. And then Rossi, from the first one, he sees, oh, well, Tautau's throwing, you know, a no-look pass to where I maybe should have been. Yeah. Maybe next time I'll be there. So I think it lies equally with both.
Mogo also dropped one that also led to a Roosters length of the field try as well. But they definitely scored a lot of points down that side. But in saying that also, you know, conceding 38 points, but we also lost Connor Watson. Connor Watson went down in the very early, I think in 12th minute, something like that.
So early I didn't even notice.
Yeah. And then they did a reshuffle, and then we lost Sione to a HIF for a large portion of the game as well. I think he only played about 20 minutes. So when you take those two things into consideration, and the reshuffle and the defensive line, you know, a lot of their points came off kicks. And you know when you have to reshuffle your defensive line and you're playing slightly out of position, and then you get targeted on those fringes, it's hard to sort of know what your inside and your outside guy is going to do, especially around kicks, where it's a little bit a little bit less predictable that, you know, where your guy you're defending is, you know, especially
when you're trying to defend kicks from the boot of Cooper Cronk. That kick to Ferguson was unbelievable. It was absolutely superb.
So I know it was a bit tough. Did you have a hats off for this week?
Look, I did. You know, Herman, he's doing really well there in the front row, and he was up against a good forward pack. What Robinson has done with Warrior-Hargraves and Napa, swapping them, giving one the bench, and, you know, it's really fired them up. So they were both brilliant, but Herman still managed to, you know, get his meters, find his front, good footwork, made some yards. You know, he was not a shining light, but a dimly lit bulb. Yeah. But yeah, I think he still managed to deliver on what we kind of had promised from him.
It was sort of turned down to a bit of mood lighting. Like, is it mood lighting or moonlighting?
Well, it could be either.
Really. Yeah. It's about the same level of light. But just the right amount of light to make, you know, us look attractive. That kind of, like, quite dim.
So pitch black.
Pitch black, yeah. Just a slight glow. Maybe like the light, just the amount of light that a Nokia 3310 would emit. So that was Herman SASA. The man's so nice they've named him on 2 separate occasions.
And how about you, Nagy? Hats off for yourself.
Has to go to the Pong. That's right. It's for me. It is the Pong again. There was a few key moments. Obviously, he poked his nose through. The pass didn't land, but if it did, he definitely looked the most dangerous again. And I thought for me the real clincher was when Luke Keary ran through the line, and everyone was in a fluster. And sure enough, he found that guy. But I think Ponga, like, if you look at the angle that he took out Keary with, and he went hard at him and just absolutely took out his legs, like cannonballed through his legs.
And any other player throwing that pass at any other point in any game does not get that pass away. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a remarkable
pass. So, you know, like you've said, I think the Pong, did very, very well to almost shut it down, but a freakish pass got away. And again, that was one of the effort areas. When you start putting those in, the luck comes off and, the ball went to hand.
Yeah, and it's like, if you look at, there was support on either side. If he stays back on his hips, they just pick and choose. They just they could go wherever they want. But, he made them throw an absolute Hail Mary, and it just happened to stick this time. So, mine goes to the Pong. But, like, there was just... This I think it had to happen, but this wasn't a grinder. This wasn't like one of those games. It wasn't against Canberra Manly where we were sort of in it, try for try. The game got away from us very quickly, and for me, we were there. It was the Newcastle chant went up, which was really good. I think it was. You could arguably say that it was louder than the Roosters chant, but I think the Roosters chant's just a bit shitty.
It's a terrible chant.
Yeah, there was a bit of a drum involved. It was just a lot of Roosters, and it was like...
It's very uncreative.
Yeah, not like that Newcastle. It's the three-tiered chant that really everyone gets behind. And saying soul at the end of it. Newcastle soul. But we saw also a lot of Jousters down there, which was fantastic. Ran into a bunch, mostly circling around the pubs, but
It was wonderful. Yeah, it was great to meet some people who, clearly know who we are and don't despise us. So
I think it was some people just despise us.
Oh, there's a lot more who despises than who didn't. But it was great to catch up with a few guys, share a few chats and a couple of beers and stuff. It was lovely.
It was nice. It was nice, but that's probably where the fun ended. When after about 10 minutes. But I'll tell you what, there was a good showing of fans there, and it really, they obviously travelling down to Sydney, and even when it pouring rain, I saw a few families leave the rain and then just go get ponchos and go back to their seats. And I thought, this is why it's a good club to follow, because it's just. It has that sort of not. Everyone just really wants them to win and wants them to do well, and we're still there to cheer them on right to the end. But
do you have any hats back on Nagy to the other end now? Could you narrow it down?
I'd say it'd either be Moga. Moga just with the drop ball that led to the try and the two passes that went to ground, they were all game hinges that just swung the other way. I just thought that side, but you could also give it to Ross. It's. One of those two. That was for me. But yourself?
No, I had Tau as well. I think the sin binning was kind of the final nail in the coffin. It was just a brain explosion. And, he really just doesn't seem to be gelling with Rossi. And, again, I think we've discussed it before. I think it's just an issue of time. They just need more time together, training and whatnot and all that good fun stuff. Or... we've got something that I think we made it address later in the sack.
Yeah, okay.
That could perhaps remedy that problem.
Yeah, okay. We'll definitely have a look. We'll have a quick short break now, and we'll get our resident stats man on the line, and we'll go over all the stats of the game. We'll be right back.
Dodgers!
Good afternoon, welcome to the Joust. This is our first Joust excursion. We're here at the Knights vs Roosters game here at Allianz Stadium. Liam, I have to ask you, we're coming into a game where we've only managed about 10 points in the last three. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Look, it was a treacherous train trip through the Central Coast, but quietly confident.
Yeah, it was the old Criminals Airway giving it its best, but we're seeing a good splattering here of red and blue, not without the white, but also some white involved as well. Very hard jerseys to tell the difference against. Are you going to find any troubles out there, Liam?
Look, no, I don't think I will. It's a Newcastle fan, so there's always going to be a bit of white involved, but I don't think we'll find any trouble out there. I'm picking about a 1.5 to 1 ratio Knights to Roosters fans, and I've just spotted a Bears jersey, so I'm going to go buy that guy a drink. Thank you, Nagy.
Happy days. We'll see you soon, guys. Here we are at the end of the game, Knights vs Roosters, 38-8. A lot further away than we hoped so, but we have, what's your name, mate?
Shane.
Shane? Shane. Tell us your thoughts. What happened, mate?
Look, another year. I think we're destined for another wooden spoon. Let's face it. We're going to go for 4 in a row. I mean, this is just absolutely tragic. We just need to throw those games away. We get in there in the first 20 minutes and then all of a sudden we just hand the ball over, concede the penalties, and it's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote, apparently, mate. It's it's a pretty glim sort of way to look forward, but glum. It's a pretty glum way to look forward, but obviously we have next week the Broncos. What do you think?
Well, it's a New South Wales Queensland affair. Let's face it, and we got Piercy, but let's face it, Piercy was playing in the wrong colours tonight. He was playing for the tricolours. He was handing those ballos. So it's not good, mate. It's just not good.
It's not good enough. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you next week, Jousters. Thank you very much, Shane.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
All right, Kelly Wilson, now you've just bought your jersey today, and we're none from one in this new jersey. What do you think, mate? What the hell went wrong?
Well, this is the first time I've ever bought a jersey. I usually steal Riley's, so I might put it back in the drawer until another away game when we might win. I mean, Jesus, that was awful.
It was a debacle, wasn't it, Kelly? Look, but there's always next week, Kelly. Always next week. We're up against the Broncos, mate. What do you reckon? Are you going to avoid the game like we're going to, like the plague? Because clearly we're bad luck.
Well, we're playing the Dragons, so we probably will. We're not playing the Broncos.
Kelly, we're playing the Dragons, mate. We're not playing the Broncos. What do you reckon?
I think we might go all right. The Dragons are a tough side, but we've got enough in attack to just, give it to... I just don't like James Graham.
Plus
he gives
Easter...
Redhead's a bad name, that fucking idiot.
Look, he does. Plus Easter Sunday, we've got God on our side. We're all be coming straight from church to the game, of course. So get down to the commie on the Sabbath, Easter Sunday, 2 o'clock. We'll start drinking early, and then we'll wrap it up with a few pingers probably. Cheers. Thank you for coming.
G'day, Jousters. We're here with Luke. Luke, how you going?
Yeah, I've been better, mate.
Obviously, we've just gone down 38-8 to the Roosters. We had high hopes, but what do you think went wrong?
Just silly penalties again. Pushing the passes, not playing to the conditions. I think. It was pretty tough to watch.
It was pissing down tonight. It was a really rainy game. Do you think that hurt our chances?
Well, it didn't help. I don't know that it hurt. I just don't think we adjusted well enough, and just gave away the too many penalties again. That's just shooting ourselves in the foot.
We like to give a hats off to a player we think really did well, and also hats back on to a player we thought we did, a bit poorly tonight. Any hats back ons or hats back offs?
I thought Moga didn't have his best game. Few silly mistakes, especially right there at the end. There no need for that. It was just tough to watch.
We've got we've got Saints next week. What do you think? How do you think we're going to go?
If we're going to have any chance, we've got to fix our defence. I think that's our bit. We've got points in us, but our defence is the big thing, I think.
Thank you very much, Luke. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, mate.
Here we are with Sean after the game. Obviously, 38-8 Roosters took away the Chockies tonight. But Sean, what do you think about the game?
It was all right. We got unlucky, game of inches really. We just didn't get over. So,
do you think maybe the rain played a part in it?
I thought we looked good when it was raining. It was closer when it was raining, and then when it stopped, they sort of took it away. So,
we like to give a hats off to a player that we think we did really well. Do you have any hats off tonight for the Knights?
yeah, Skiddy.
Skidmark Steve.
Still got in there. Still got in there and did his job even though we were down 38-8. So, 2 minutes ago, took a run. That's what you want.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sean.
No worries, man. See you later.
All right, we're here with Alex. Clearly a Tricolours fan, mate. Bit of a rough start to the year for you guys, but you've come good. How's it feel?
Quite well. I thought our first round performance was quite disappointing, but we've seen so far that the Tigers have played, 3 solid games, and I thought maybe it wasn't so bad. We put up an all right performance against the the Bulldogs, and I still don't think tonight we've hit our straps. I'm still yet to see Tedesco do much. And
Well, to be fair, we have taken out the spoon 3 years in a row, so putting 38 on us, that's nothing, mate. Who have you got next week?
the Warriors, so hopefully in their perfect start as well.
I was going to say the Warriors, mate. You've got no chance against them, surely.
They have the wood on us, so.
Is that so?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we beaten them, to be fair. Beat us last year, and even the year we won the comp, I think they beat us, so.
Well, it looks like Cronk, Tedesco, Kiri are coming together good, so looks like you guys are in for a good season, and getting towed up by you, it's going to feel better when you guys get the premiership, huh?
Yep, hopefully.
Beauty. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we are with a bunch of Knights supporters. Knights tragic to come all the way here from where are you from?
Newcastle.
From Newcastle.
Central Coast. Newcastle.
Central Coast.
Newcastle.
Yeah, South Newcastle.
Yeah,
South Newcastle.
And Newcastle.
And Newcastle. And look at. Oh, happy 18th. Here we go. Here we go. Look. And you spent your 18th watching the Newcastle Knights play the Roosters. How do you think they went?
Pretty shocking. It was a bit disappointing. It wasn't great, but I still believe Brownie's going to bring us home.
Brandon's going to bring us home. What about you boys?
I really love my footy, but the Knights really disappointed me tonight. But they'll bring it together lately. Yeah, but footy brings us all together, which is good to see. I love my footy.
Fantastic. It's 2 out of 3. What do you think, mate?
Sucks.
That's we got some harsh terms, but we're 2 out of 3. We're feeling pretty good here in Sydney. What do you think? What do you think of next week for the St George?
I think Moga needs to look before he passes.
What about St George?
Yeah, probably another loss.
Another loss to St George.
They need to get rid of Bura and put Safety back on the bench.
Yeah, and
It might be a big call for Bureau to go and Jacob Safidi to be back on the bench.
Yes. Mate, he played unbelievable last week.
It's good. It's a good, maybe a great call. Maybe we all need to have a good look at the team lineup tonight. But also, thank you very much, Jousters. We'll see.
I love my mum.
See you later, mum. Also. All right, so we've got Supercoach here. Like, what do you reckon, mate? Like next week.
Brock Lamb needs to start. Connor wants it back on the bench, and say Fiddy on the bench as well. And even Luke Yates, you got to bring Yates back. Far out.
Anyone else?
Stone. What about Stone? What happened to him, man?
Just all bring everyone back. Is that? Thank you very much, man.
Interview us.
All right, here we go, boys.
What did you like about the game?
Yeah, come on. What are you Knight supporters or Roosters supporters?
I'm a Tiger.
Tiger supporters.
That's a good interview. Come
What
on.
do you think about the Tigers at this?
Warrior?
Yeah,
I'm a
Warrior
fan.
supporters. Storm. So we've got a real conglomerate here
You
tonight.
know what? It was an enjoyable game, and
Yeah.
I love the fucking Knights because I'm good friends with Mitchell.
Pierce, and the slots are loose.
You want the Knights to lose?
Now the slots are loose from the Knights.
Slots are loose from the Knights. Sorry about that.
You can't put that
Can you do the beep? Beep?
We'll beep that all out. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. So just who do you go for?
I go for Warriors. Fantastic
Are you
team.
the
Fantastic team.
What?
Who do you go for?
The Tigers, man. Are you serious? I'm a Tiger.
Who do you go for?
Storm.
We've got a real conglomerate here. I tell you what, I was making up a lot of the 15,000 people that are here.
Warriors. Come on, the
I'll
Warriors.
I'll meet you guys in Tamworth. I'll be there.
There might be a bit of
Are you gonna be there?
Sorry,
Are you going to be in Tamworth?
we might.
Tigers are playing Newcastle in Tamworth.
I'm a little bit scared to go there with Tamworth because you're going to be there. But
No, I'm scared to fucking go in there full stop. My wife's going to be fucking losing that.
thanks, boys. Thank you very much.
Good to see you, Tamworth.
Roll.
Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Unfortunately, our resident statman, Josh Spiegelman, the Hebrew Hammer, will not be joining us this evening. He's indisposed. Indisposed, is that a word, Liam?
Yes,
Or are you just-
absolutely. No, you've used that correctly.
Correctly, that's
Very
good.
well used.
That's very good. I'll give myself a little pat on the head.
Well done, Nagy. But we do have exclusive access to Josh Spiegelman's stats,
Yeah.
and they don't paint a pretty picture. The alliteration got me all tongue-tied there. But
pray tell.
well, now again, it doesn't paint a pretty picture, so lock yourselves in, Knights fans. But one shining light was the Pong, again, as you pointed out very astutely, and your hats off. Team high run meters, 145 run meters.
Ooh.
But the number for me that just shows how Pong strong he is, feel free to use hashtag Pong strong, was 9 tackle breaks. He got 12 in the first game. God knows how many in the second, but I think it was a lot. And 9 in this game. He'll go close, I think, to leading the competition in tackle bust this year. He's just so strong and elusive. It's just wonderful. And, of course, astute as we are, my very own hats off, Herman SASA. He was their only forward to run over 100 metres. He ran for 108, made 33 tackles. So it's not a pretty picture when you're playing a side like the Roosters and your key forwards can't crack 100 metres. I know it's just a number, but it does lead a long way to laying that platform. And I think some of the other forwards, maybe they didn't have the chances to run those metres, but might need to start putting their hands up a wee bit more.
Well, I got to agree with you. You see your good sides, your sides that are really controlling the middle of the field, and their forwards are always running over 100. I know we say it's just a number, and I'm a big fan, especially like in other games, like whether you get to 50 or you get to these milestones, they don't actually mean anything reflectively. But there's something about that. About 100 meters is what you expect out of your forward, and I don't mind how they get there. But as you said, like putting your hand up more, like if it takes them 13 hit ups to get 100 meters, at least you know they're working and they're making that ground across the middle.
What if they get there by running 100 metres backwards?
Hey.
To their own try line.
Hey, well, I'd be negative.
Oh, that'd count. Negative 100, yeah. So. Anyway, but, Guerra did get the try, but of the second rows, Lockie Fitz was the standout. He ran for 98 metres, which was 50 more than Aiden Guerra, but missed a few in defence. He missed 3 tackles, and there was 3 ineffective tackles. So he only had a 78% tackle effectiveness rating, which, for a modern edge second row probably isn't good enough. That was something that was one of his weaknesses last year. The first 2 rounds, I thought he was really strong in defence. He did show that he had worked on it quite a bit, but there's still those errors in his game. But again, with the grease out there.
And Sione missing. He's on Sione's side, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so I think the reshuffle would have done him a mischief.
The reshuffle did do him a mischief. So that was kind of the first of the letdowns. Barnett also had a bit of a shocker. He had 5 missed tackles, which I believe was the the highest in the team. He only ran for 55 metres as well, which, not really what we expect from Barney. He's been such a forward leader through the tough times that kind of expect a bit more out of him, but, maybe he was still a bit off from that insanely heavy collision he had with the Mack truck last week. That
I got to say, I was really surprised that they played him. I was because as we've heard through the week, I can't remember who said it. I think it was Fitzsimons, different code, whatever the case might be. But if in doubt, sit it out. And if you miss a whole
rhymes,
that's
good,
very clever.
Yeah.
But his thing was that that if there's any sort of question over them, and I think if you miss an entire game, like effectively he was off within the first 10 minutes, and they said no, you can't come back this game, and then you have a game. A week later, and then you're meant to be all good again. Like, I thought the whole thing with concussions is that it is that longer term recovery. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Yes, I think that seems to be the case. But obviously they do have the protocols in place, and
yeah.
I know we have been known to frown upon the protocols previously. And
that's true. Like, mind you, if this was like coming into like a qualifying final or something like that, I'd be like, oh my god, you got to play him. And then now, like, it's like round 3. I'm like, oh, you really should have set that out because he had a terrible game. So I'm a huge hypocrite. But continue.
But look, there was still some other. Tau made 3 errors, which wasn't a team high, but still, unacceptable to be making 3 errors. And Mr. Spiegelman, our Hebrew Hammer, did suggest to me, or to us, he sent it to all of us, but to me specifically, he suggested better swap
with the sides.
Maybe swap Sione and Tau, or swap the wingers. So you've got a Tau SKD edge on one side. You've got your Sione and Rossi, because it just doesn't seem to have the chemistry yet. The Tau Ross combination. What do you think?
Yeah, we're definitely missing something. I know we haven't scored many points on the fringe at all in the 3 games, and quite a few tries have been scored, and we haven't seen those sweeping plays finishing with SKD or Nathan Ross. SKD nearly got taken over the sideline, greasy game, blah blah blah. But all the tries that we scored against Canberra were sort of around the fringes, with in the centre back rower sort of try. So yeah, look, I'd be trying something different.
But then again, is it too early in the season to make a switch?
No,
because again, it's a bit of a knee-jerk, maybe a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. Do we give it more time? Because again, like when you have a combination like that, the thing that fixes it is time and playing together. Is it too soon?
I think you got to make these changes. I like changes that when you're addressing a problem. I don't like the thing of like we'll just keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. If we've got a bit of depth in the backs, not a tremendous amount, but like shuffle them around. And also like as players like Nathan Ross, who we love here at the show,
adore him with all our hearts.
Adore, but like he's had 3 pretty quiet games. There are people that are calling for possibly maybe him dropping. Spending some time maybe finding his feet in reserve grade.
Could that also be a result though of having a more experienced player group? He now doesn't need to do quite as much work. The onus is sort of taken from him to lead and.
Possibly. I see what you mean, but it's I'm just for like change it up. If you got the depth there, and we're serious about keeping informed players on the park. You have to threaten, no matter with your Tau Burger and you're on whatever we're paying him, probably somewhere around the realms of $400,000 a season, or Nathan Ross who's been with the club, real clubman. But you have to use that. The drop and bring up, because you have to let everyone know that these performances now really matter, and it's not that we lost obviously because we got 38 points put on us. It's a little bit more focus, but in saying that, it's you have to have that. Otherwise, it's just like we've been playing for the last 3 years, and everyone knows that they could have a terrible game, make errors, and just come back up the next week. So I think you need complacency, which we saw.
Is a word that I know.
Yeah. Anything else stand up for you in the stats there, Liam?
That's all I've got from the Roosters game, Nagy. But I believe you have some stats that are pertinent to the upcoming game.
That's true. Double H sent through some. See what did there? I abbreviated it.
Nice. Saves time.
Yeah. With some stuff coming up for the Dragons game, which is coming up this Easter Sunday. Please keep an eye out for a very special event that we'll be talking about very soon regarding the Dragons event. Now, Josh says that the wrong page. So the Dragons, Paul Vaughan, and can you pronounce this winger's name? I always struggle. Nene McDonald. Nene McDonald. So odd that McDonald is his surname. That it seems like he would have a more exotic sounding surname. But anyway, Nene McDonald, and also Paul Vaughan making well over 100 metres averaging per game. I think Nene somewhere around the 150 mark, while Paul Vaughan around the 130 mark. But still big metres, and as we were saying before, your teams that are winning are making those big metres in the middle, and Nene's just this freak out wide that that had a bit of fitness issues last year, but seems to come out and playing some really good football in
And
patches.
effective meters out of Paul Vaughan as well. I know last season I think he was hard done by not making the Origin side. He was scoring a lot of tries. He was not only making a lot of meters, he was making them well.
Yeah.
He was making them count. He's a really damaging prop forward, and I think he'll be a tough one to contain.
He will. We'll have to contain him. And then I remember last year when we beat the Dragons and they ran for over 200 metres. So that's the kind of thing we need to really focus on, is shut down those players, those power players. But also Matt Duffy, the guy that could only ever play football because he just looks like a footballer.
Doesn't he? What?
He just has that face of a footballer. But I don't know why. But yeah, he's averaging 7 tackle busts. Not like similar numbers to the Pong, but not quite up there.
It's actually a really good matchup of two young, exciting fullbacks there, Dufty and Ponga. Dufty doesn't quite have the playmaking nous that Ponga's really developing, but he's a devastating runner.
Yeah.
He's like a pinned ball in the machine when it bounces off the things. And it just seems very hard to tackle. And he runs very good lines. I think that's going to be a hell of a matchup, the two number ones.
Yeah, hopefully, unlike the pinball machine, hopefully it doesn't go straight down vertically. And then
That used to happen to me all the time.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing.
And you put like the both arms up and it just sinks right down. And, and then that's it. Pinball machines.
I was never very good at pinball.
No, neither was I.
Even though I had access to one, I used to play it all the time for free, and I still sucked.
Yeah, I remember just slightly offshoot, I used to have that computer pinball, like on your PC.
Oh, yeah, Hewlett-Packard.
Yeah.
Space pinball.
Space pinball.
3D space pinball.
3D space pinball. So it was on the computer, and then it was only me and my sister using the computer, and then she'd put a score up, and then I'd put a score up, and then she'd put a score up, and I'd always try to beat it. And then I wrote like, "Ha, finally beaten you," or something like that. And then I told her, like in real life, I was like, "I beat you pinball," and she's like, "I don't care." And it just really crushed me. Just crushed me because I realized that in my mind it was this battle, but she was like, "I don't care." That was the world of gaming before the internet. But players we need to target, Jason Nightingale's making a few errors, 1.7 errors per game, as well as Tarek Sims is, I think it's 0.7 line break causes this season. So he's had a few lapses in defence that have led to some opposition tries. So hopefully he's really lazy and, we can get some points on him. It's always good, getting points on players that jump ship on us.
Especially those dickhead Sims boys.
Yeah. And as well as Gareth Widdop, only having an 80% tackle effectiveness.
But on the other side, I think he had 8 try assists last week. That's unbelievable. He had a hand in 8 of their 9 tries. Sorry, not try assist, but try involvement. So he didn't directly lead to the try, but he was involved in 8 of their 9 tries. It was unbelievable. The guy's a freak. Having Ben Hunt there has really, really opened up his game, and they are going to need to be targeted, shut down.
Yeah.
I don't know, take him out to Wollongong Macca's or beat him with a trolley pole or something because they are just hitting a sublime patch of form.
Hopefully that we can be their wake-up call. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
But it's always a good game against the Dragons. But, Glenn, where will you be watching the game against the Dragons?
I will be watching the game at the Commonwealth Hotel, Nagy. How about you?
I am also going to be watching at the Commonwealth Hotel. Can you believe it?
I can believe it because it's the Joust's first birthday, ladies and gentlemen. We're turning 1 year old. We never thought we'd make it, but here we are. You've all stuck by us through, I want to say thick and thin, but mostly
thick. Which
is
one's
that
better?
the bad one?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Whichever one's the bad one, you've stuck through it with us. So we'll be starting the shenanigans around 2:30. So you've got plenty of time to go to church in the morning and make sure you do all your prayers and such.
Yeah.
And then 2:30 we'll have the footy on. We'll probably yell some stuff at you and maybe a cake.
There might be a cake involved as well, but also much like you'll see on through this episode, we're doing did some interviews at the Roosters game, and also we're doing some interviews there as well. So if you want to get on the Joust for next week, please come along.
Get your mug on the internet.
Get your mug and your mug. Speaking of mugs, Liam.
Excellent segue.
And all our mug winners will be very happy to know that we finally chased down the communist country that was developing them, and we gave them a bit of a shake up, and now we finally got the mugs. So expect mugs in the mail very shortly. I know it's been a few weeks. It took us a little bit longer to get them, but
shipping costs extra from the third world.
Yeah, that's right. It's but it was you never realize what it takes to get a whole lot of mugs to your door, but we finally got them now. So keep your eyes out for mugs. Now, Liam,
Yes, Nagy.
I think it's time to open that sack of yours.
Oh, the sack. Yes, please and thank you. Now, again.
You reached down to your pants there, and I thought you were actually going to get something out of your pants.
Oh, no. Sorry, I thought I was too. Thank you for stopping me, Nagy.
That's
I forget that we do video these days. Oh, God. Now, good sack this week, guys. Thank you very much for all the questions as well. Now, I'm going to start with John McGill. Now, John asks, who comes onto the bench for Lamb? John, that's actually a pretty easy one. The team list came out today, and it's Jamie Buhrer, Chris Hyington, and Bo Safidi. So,
are you happy with that?
I like it. I like the big bench. Still a bit, kind of confused about what the hell's happening with Danny Levi.
You'd think now, especially because we were sort of using that sort of in a hooker rotation ish, that maybe Levi would come on, and I thought particularly because we didn't score many points last week, that Levi is a point scorer. I think Slade has proved himself in defence to be a very effective defender and just does a very clean job around the ruck. But I think Levi is that spark, that energy that can get us a try. So I'm surprised they haven't put him back in the side. Because there's a spot there now. But they must ask, what's wrong with Danny Levi? Is he on the off?
Well, I think he got in a punch-up with Brock Lamb a few weeks ago.
No, it wasn't a punch-up. They were having a bit of fun. It's the boys.
Was the boys having fun?
It was a bit of a slap and tickle in the shower.
Well, then why was it brought up? There's nothing wrong with a bit of slap and tickle in the shower. If anything, it should be encouraged.
Yes. No.
Great for team cohesion.
Yeah.
But I like it. I think against especially this St. George pack, they're a really good pack.
Yeah.
We're going to need those bigger boys. I thought our bench last week with Buhrer and Lamb was a bit too small. And it showed one stat I forgot to mention, we had 325 less running meters.
Yep.
And I think having that small bench probably didn't help. So I like the idea of having Chris Hingeting and the two Safidis on the bench.
No,
and Buhrer obviously playing the role that he plays.
Yeah. I heard that Chris Hingeting was actually suffering a bit of a hip flex injury, which kept him out of the game on Sunday. Hence why they brought the other Safidi back in, Jacob. And I like the twin towers on the bench. I think it's great. So I think the bench as it is now is good. I think we should keep it. But I've always got a spot for Levi in the squad as well. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no, I think he will make his comeback at some point. It's just a matter of when. Next one is from Stephen Clark. Now Stephen asks, do you think Lillyman deserves to keep his starting spot after the first three performances, Nagy?
I'm very disappointed with him at the moment. Just personally, no, doesn't return any of my calls. No, he's
returned all mine.
Bastard. No,
with interest.
No, he's just not doing the numbers that I thought he would. Last year, him and Daniel Safidi were, especially towards the back end of the season, were averaging well over 100 meters. And, he was just the big body. He just looks, I don't know whether his age is catching up with him. Eventually he got to slow down. But I just want a little bit more out of him. Not much, just a bit of a 10% raise. Just an effort. Just around those effort areas.
The effort areas, which are such a buzzword right now. And look, I think you keep him.
He's a big body. And
he's a big body. He may not be hitting the numbers yet that we kind of expected of him.
Yeah.
But again, he's a professional. He's been doing this for a long time. Just let him have his chance to... Again, we're 3 games in.
Yeah,
I think it's maybe a bit too early to start talking about chopping and changing. I think keep him in.
He's a 32-year-old prop on a 1-year contract. I think if anything, you don't drop him, you bench him and see if you can, get a bit more out of him then against, a tighter pack.
Now, the last one I'll cover, because we do have a lot to move on to, is from Gaza Soewarno. Sorry, Gaz, if I've mispronounced that. Is it Soewarno? Rumour is, Nagy. Now, rumour is that the Tigers are chasing the Ross dog. Do you think he'll leave to chase his dream of playing fullback?
Yeah, look, I think this whole fullback thing has been thrown in a little bit too hard, because I'm not sure if you're a Tigers if you're a Tigers team and you've got players like Lola here, who has played fullback before, and
very well too,
and also Kevin Nguama, who has played fullback as well, that you would get another winger from another team.
Corey Thompson, who is a winger from their team, played fullback on the weekend and played with aplomb.
I don't think you'd chase it. You've got enough people there to play fullback if you want to mix it up. So I doubt they'd be like, hey, Rossi, come to this team and play starting fullback. But then again, if he does, I think he's got next year left on his Knights contract here. That was the extension that was done last year. I think it was 2 years extension this year and next year. Now, if they were to say, look, we're going to give you a 3-year contract, so next year and 2 additional years, or the rest of this year and another year on the end of it, the player his age, he's probably, he's an older guy. He came to first grade a lot older than a lot of other players. there's always going to be pressure on him. So, maybe he could leave. I would hate to see him leave. I want to see him play better. I want to see him stay with the Knights. I want to see him, win games for the Knights because that's what he loves to do as well. So, I don't think he'll go unless it's a really juicy contract.
I think I agree with you there. He's shown that he does love this club. He loves the team. I think he'd stay unless it was an enormous contract. And anyone who would complain about him signing an enormous contract to go play a position he wants to play, I don't care how big of a fan of the Knights you are, you're a dickhead. It's professional sports.
Yeah, it's business.
It's a business, and, while I would be unhappy about it, I wouldn't begrudge him that opportunity because that's just rude, first of all. And second of all, I'm not going to go into the whole big rant I have planned about, why players are demanded to have such loyalty by the fans, but it doesn't reciprocate to the clubs.
Yeah.
People don't care if a club lets go of some, favourite son or some dickhead who has played 2 games.
This year, if anything, proven that. Look at Josh Reynolds playing at Tigers. You've got Dan Gagai playing at Souths. You've got all these clubs sort of like players that you thought they'll never leave there have all swapped this year especially. So it's it's not surprising. Cronk to the Roosters example there, Pierce to the Knights. It all just it swings and roundabouts. I've never understood that expression either.
I don't get it either. Like they're both on a playground. As far as I know, that's as much as they're related.
Yeah. But it's Glenn, do you have the time?
I do, Nagy. I think it's time for the news.
Oh. Yes, now Liam, a lot has happened, especially.
Oh my God, we finally have a week where news has happened in the NRL. This is amazing.
But unfortunately, we said last week, we said we were waiting for a controversy, and we just hoped there wasn't the Knights. But I don't think I touched wood. Don't understand that either. But Liam,
there's a lot we don't understand.
Yeah, no, this is there's 2 blokes discussing a lot, saying a lot about stuff, and then immediately saying that we don't understand any of it. Now, speaking about things we don't understand. Illicit drugs and Daniel Pythian.
Dylan
Pythian.
Nagy's been on some illicit drugs. We apologise.
Dylan Pythian.
Contract has been thrown
to the air by Phil Gardner. I hope he was like, "You're fired." But no, he got his second.
Give me your gun and badge, Pythian. You're out. You're a loose cannon.
But he got the sack today. It was huge.
He did.
And I think this is just to clarify. It was for, you probably all read it. You're all Knights fans, but it was for illicit drug use.
It was his second strike against the NRL's illicit drug policy, and they've torn up his contract. The penalty for the infringement would be a 12-match ban, but Phil Gardner and the Knights have laid a hard line and said, no, look, it's your second strike. Sorry, mate, tearing out the contract. However, the club will be offering counselling and having him go through counselling programs. But his career at the Newcastle Knights is henceforth over.
It was really sad because obviously Brownie had a lot of faith in him starting in fullback last year. He immediately did his knee against the Warriors in that first game and looked good in that short window. But then there was obviously complications with his knee reconstruction because he wasn't due to come back till around 5 to 7 this year. So if worst case scenario, he comes back around 7, 12 game suspension, he's not come back to round 19, and then he's got to work his way back into a backline spot. I'm not surprised they tore up his contract. But second, you're pointing at me.
Well, I was going to say, this raises, we call back to the sack now because Matt Palmer, I wanted to save this question actually. Matt Palmer asked, do you think if Dylan Pythian was a bigger name player, they would have terminated his contract or just sat him out for the 12-week suspension?
They would have sat him out. It's one of those things everyone would go, everyone's on the same thing, but it wouldn't have been so if it was a bigger name player. If it was someone like, I don't know, I can't see him sacking someone like Sione. I can't see him sacking someone like
the James Buray, the captain of the club.
Connor Watson, I don't think they'd sack him. You know what I mean? I think they've just invested too much. They said, this is the right player. This fits into the mold that we want for the future. So I can't see him just going, nope, you're out.
But one of the big things that was addressed in the club's statement was they said that obviously was that his behaviour doesn't fit into the culture we're trying to create around the club. So from that, I think we can safely deduce that it was definitely recreational drugs. It wasn't any kind of performance-enhancing or
if it was
drug of recovery.
No, it was. Yeah, you got to make that clear, because even though he was coming back for knee injury, it wasn't something that it was like a steroid that was banned or anything like that. Because it said it was illicit drugs, and if it was performance-enhancing, it would have been an ASADA test, and it would have been huge. Look at Jared Mullen, out for 4 years. So it's this, and they wouldn't have definitely given him a one-off. You know what I mean? Like, you're on steroids this time, but if we catch you again. So I think, if anything, it's a little bit worrying around this point now, because you think a footballer, someone around that first grade squad, is he partying by himself? Is he? You'd think he'd be going out with other footballers, with other players involved. And plus, they don't release the first warnings. Like, how many? Like, we heard there was a bit of a, trouble with the player behaviour at Aiden Guerra's 30th. About 3 or 4 weeks ago. Was this?
Did we hear this?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was Aiden Guerra's 30th, though.
Yeah, no, happy birthday, Aiden.
Happy birthday.
But it was more players involved in this. Was there something that happened then? Is that just wait for the dust to settle and they've kicked him out the door? A lot of questions to be asked, and hopefully not too many will be answered.
Yes, let's hope they don't,
hopefully,
because that could ravage our team.
Yeah, no, absolutely, especially so early on. It's really sad to see that that it was round 3. Like, I don't know when his first one was, but and also he was out injured. This is the game he obviously loves playing. It's his full-time career. It would be doing stuff to your self-esteem, and I'm not saying drugs are the answer to your self-esteem problems, but come on, I don't know. It was, if anyone at the age of 22 hasn't made a few mistakes in their life, I think we forgive and forget as far as
okay.
Yeah.
Deal. Forgiven and forgotten.
But now Liam.
Oh, now Nagy.
Now you take it. Where you going?
No, I was going to say the other news this week. My God, isn't it great to see the collapse of the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles? They're just falling down around us.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful to see. Obviously been done for, I believe the word was massive and systematic salary cap cheating.
Yep.
They've been slapped with some punishments that are absolutely laughable.
Yeah.
And it's just turned into a bit of a circus, this whole thing.
It really has.
Absolute circus.
They were given a $750,000 fine. $250,000 of that was suspended, which makes me think, why don't they just give him a $500,000 fine?
What's the point?
I think as our producer Elliot was saying, I think because on the condition that they don't find anything else, and then the fine would kick back in. Something like that, but Elliot's had much more crosses with the law and court and things like that. So he probably understands that system a little bit better than us good Christian lads.
But the thing that I don't think has been addressed much is the huge effect that the systematic cheating that they were doing had on the NRL. Now, this happened around the time that Daly Cherry Evans had signed with the Titans. Now, he was offered a certain amount by Manly. Turns out 400,000 of that was outside the cap. So he suddenly backflips on the Titans, returns to Manly for an illegal sum, and throws the whole NRL into disarray. At the same time, Dylan Walker was leaving South Sydney. Now, $100,000 of his contract was illegal outside the cap. These figures may not be right. I was half asleep when I was watching NRL 360 last night, but I'm fairly certain of that. And to be fair, he was let go by South for drug use as well.
Yeah.
And it was the same with Marty Tapau. Like, these players that they brought to the club threw certain clubs into complete and utter chaos and jeopardy.
Yeah.
And it was all because of systematic salary cap rorting.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. And Manly's really gotten off with with a caution and a fine, basically, and no points deducted. Trent Barrett got a caution. Their current CEO got a caution, but their former CEO is now at the Roosters.
Joe Kelly, he's been suspended for 12 months.
What does that mean when can't you just
I think
do
it
this
means
from
he
the
gets a
background?
holiday.
Yeah, pretty much. The Roosters will probably sack him, but in reality, also there's no real problem for them. They just move on. The CEO's already gone. Apparently, if you look at Bobby Fulton, just resigned within 12 months ago. Knew the shitstorm was coming and went, I'm out of here.
He was general manager of the club at the time, and just resigned and got out.
Now he's out of the reach of the club, and he's an older guy now, so he probably doesn't have to do anything. But which is an absolute farce. It's ridiculous that this can happen to a team like Manly, some of the golden boys of the club, and they'll probably get this will be a forgive and forget.
And the thing that,
but they were cheating.
Yeah, and the thing that I found interesting is that yes, they've been given a fine. Yes, they've had some slight annoyances put upon them. But the NRL will come out and say, look, this will be a deterrent to any club that wants to cheat in the past. No, it won't be. Melbourne had 2 premierships stripped and played for no points. People are still just cheating the salary cap. The Bulldogs came last, had all their points stripped. People still cheated the salary cap.
Parramatta with the brown paper bags. Like, yeah.
But they still came last anyway with a cheating squad. So that's the funny one. I kind of found that very humorous, actually.
What's the matter, Parramatta? Look, Liam, it's been a pleasure talking to you so much about football, but what do you have anything else? You're looking down your
No. Just trying to make out Nagy's handwriting.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Terrible.
I can't even read it. Now, Liam, Sunday, 2:30, the Commonwealth Hotel will be there to celebrate our very first birthday together.
And, of course, to cheer the boys on against the Dragons.
If you're going to watch it anyway, be watching it there. It's going to be an absolute ripper of a time. And there might even be cake, but it'll be lovely. It'll be lovely. I'm really looking forward to both the football and both celebrating with you. It's going to be fantastic. It's Easter Sunday as well, so make sure that you eat all your chockies before you come. Do you still do chocolate around Easter? Do you like with your friends?
I don't really much care for chocolate, actually. I'm more a savoury man.
Yeah.
If they can make like an egg out of Arnott's shapes, I'd be really happy. Like a chicken crimpy egg.
Yeah, but also you like chicken crimpy in that savoury flavoured shapes.
Savoury is probably the most underrated shapes flavour of all.
Yeah, that's right. That's awful.
It's delicious.
Awful.
Very good.
Now,
Cheddar's a close second.
That's awful flavours.
They're great flavours.
Anyway, now if you look out for your mugs in the mail, guys, they'll be coming very soon. As well as if you like the podcast, please like us on Facebook. You can find us on SoundCloud, on Facebook as well as iTunes, Pipes, Twitter. We're tweeting all the time, as well as. Do we tweet some of the stuff from the tour?
No, not a thing.
Not a thing. All right, I think it was on your Snapchat. But also,
should have.
but also, if you also come along to the event on Sunday because you can have your chance to get on the Joust for next week as well because we'll be doing some live interviews there watching the Dragons game. So if you put on your red and blue, come down and let's celebrate our birthday. But we'll see you next week and we'll see you on Sunday. Hooroo.
We forgot to do the frowny brownies.
Oh, fuck. It's all right.